So who wants to be picked on this morning? Not Crystal. But Crystal, you didn't like these. So picking on you about them is good.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, what do the vertical asymptotes tell us has to be true about the function?
They tell us where the numerator equals 0.
Where which equals 0?
The numerator. No, denominator.
So we know that that's got to be an x plus 5 and an x plus 3, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's great. It's a great start. What else do we know?
That the x-intercepts are the top one, whichever one the numerator.
I thought you said you were bad at this.
I am.
Okay. And x minus 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a wonderful start. And really the important start. Trying to figure out those lead coefficients, particularly in this problem, is going to be a little bit ugly. So if you can get this far, you're doing great. So what do we know about that 4? Anybody want to chime in and say what has to be true for that horizontal asymptote to be 4?
You have to have a 4. Henry, go watch the show. you have to have, what's it? The numerator's got a 4 over 1 probably, because that would make it 4, right?
Well, 4 over 1 or something whose ratio is 4, right?
Yes, 4 over 1 is the nice one.
4 over 1 would be the nice one, but the trouble is, does 4 over 1 make this -1? Not necessarily, right?
That's true.
But we do know that the lead coefficient on the numerator has to be 4 times that of the one in the denominator, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's where this problem gets a little sticky. That this is 4 times 1 time whatever that is. So this could be 4 times anything as long as that is 1 times that same anything. Then that ratio of lead coefficients will be 4 to 1. Does that make sense? And that is the weird thing about this. But this problem is probably putting in a little bit more than, actually, I know it's a little bit more than you guys would be asked.
I feel like if you practice harder than you play, game time's easy.
That's the idea. Now, how do we figure out that A? Well, the same way we figured out the A in the problem above. We know this point. We know that this function evaluated at 0 has to equal -1. So this function at 0 is what? 4a times 4 times -2 over 1a times 5 times 3, and that has to equal -1. And we solve for a.
Why did we choose 4 over 1?
Because the ratio of the lead coefficients has to be 4.
Oh, yeah, because that's the horizontal asymptote.
Yep.
Okay.
So what is that? 16 -32 times a.
Why are we doing it to -1?
Because it's equal to -1 at 0.
Got it. Okay.
Now, hopefully you're seeing a problem come up, right? does this equal -1? Like those A's are going to cancel, right?
That's a problem.
So we're going to end up with something like -32A equals -15A. And the only value that works for is when A is equal to 0. I told you that -1 was going to be a problem. So what does that tell us? I actually kind of like that this happened.
Does that mean there's another not possible? Does that mean there's a non-real 0 somewhere?
Probably. There's information that we don't have that's making this not work. And that's why I was like, oh, no, I shouldn't have put in both the 4 and that intercept. Because as soon as I put in 2 points, it's got to work right. And that's what I was worried about. But this is how we'd handle that. How to figure out what's missing is beyond the scope of the conversation that we want to have. So if you were given a problem like this, oops, you would be given less information. You'd be given, say, something like that, and said, make a function. And Andrew, your 4/1 would work.
Okay, so it would just be like, don't worry about finding the A.
Yeah.
Assume.
The only time we need an A for these is, remember the one we did yesterday where it had the horizontal asymptote at 0? That's
so
where
we
we
need to
needed,
find the lower coefficient, right?
right. That's where we needed to have that other point off to find the coefficient. This was actually too much information. It started to contradict itself. So that's my bad. As soon as I did, I knew I was going to be in trouble.
So like when it's 0 though, right? That's when the lead coefficient on top is higher than the one on the bottom, or it's a degree higher on top than on bottom, correct?
For which?
For the y asymptote when it's 0, that's when there's a higher degree on top than on bottom, correct?
If it's going to head towards 0, which should be bigger, top or bottom?
Well, if you can't divide by 0, so it'd have to be 0 on top. So your
small
denominator would have a
on top,
higher degree. That's
Yep.
right.
bigger on the bottom.
And then if there's no asymptote whatsoever, that's when it's bigger on top.
Right.
Because it'd be undefined.
Well, because it would just increase without bound.
Yeah.
Yeah, get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, and we've seen some do that to kind of,
Yeah.
and then do whatever they do in between. So that would be bigger on top, small on the bottom. So that wasn't a great example.
It's all right. I get where you're going with it.
All right. Let's see. Anything else you guys have in mind that you guys look at that review?
I did briefly, but I've been burning the wick at both ends lately.
That happens. What are you guys most worried about when it comes to these questions?
The test.
Test. Aaron, anything more specific than the test?
No, that's about it. Yeah.
That's about it. Justin, what about you?
I'm there.
I think the thing is that my open math stresses me out because like I feel like I'm doing the problem right. Like I'm going through the steps and I'm taking my time and then I'll put it in my open math and there will be something about the way I put it in that my open math just doesn't like whatsoever. And I'll be like, how did I get that wrong? I feel like I did everything correctly. Then my open math will be like, red, you're wrong. And I was like, how? And like on the last test, it's like I got like I think 76 initially, and then you
Mhm.
looked over my notes and I went up to like 89. And I was like, obviously I'm not that retarded, but my open math seems to think so.
Well, and my open math is looking for something different. My open math is looking for precision. I'm looking for process. And right now, you should be at a stage where we're focusing more on process. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But it is daunting when the computer just looks at you and goes, no. So,
Yeah, I think that's what stresses me out the most.
I almost recommend, not I almost don't almost recommend, I tend to recommend don't submit your answers until you've kind of gone through everything, and then go through kind of at the end and go through and submit. And if something, and if that way it's not yelling at you as you go along, you're not getting stressed as much about it. But
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I feel like I'd probably forget to go back and submit some. So,
which doesn't cause a problem. If you log out, it auto submits everything,
oh, gotcha.
so it's not a risk. That would be scary, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I did everything, but I didn't submit, so I got a 0. Oh, that would suck.
Do a 0 on the test and then turn around, turn your scratch paper and get like 100%. I did everything right on paper.
Oh, I'd find a reason to take at least 1 point off.
I think the highest grade I ever got on the math test was like 98. That's not true. In 65, I got 102.
Oh,
I missed 1 point on the main test, but I got 3 points on extra credit.
okay.
My favorite was Julian. Like after you'd get your test back, then you could go and correct everything, and then he would, so that you'd understand it, and he'd give you points back. Yeah.
Mr. Julian
Yeah.
did that too. I love Mr. Julian. He's great.
I've done that sometimes. Okay, well, just
Find the zeros.
practice
Oh, boy.
this. Ava, how about you? I can't see whether you look all panicky or all happy.
I do appreciate it when the lead coefficient on these is 1.
Oh, I know, isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's really nice. When it's like 6 or something, there's so many possibilities. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I don't have a good guess. I want to graph it. You guys graphing it? Good.
I did, but I didn't really find anything super useful.
I made a couple guesses and then now
I
I'm
got
graphing it.
I got X is negative 1.311 and X is 2.633.
So neither of those are on our list.
Got X is -2 and X is 3.
Did I write it in wrong? Oh, wait, again.
So a -2 and 3.
Okay, yep. I wrote it in wrong. -2 and 3. Yep.
And so I don't know if it, does it do something like that, or does it go through in other weird places, or
It goes up on both ends, and then it goes straight down to a point real low, about like -75. That's like the bottom.
okay, so
Goes
it kinda
back up.
goes like that.
It's real sharp.
Okay. So whatever it does. Does it matter which one we check first?
No.
No. Oh. I was still multiplying by 1. Doesn't look factorable. It shouldn't be because we didn't get any other answers. So 16 minus 28 is -12. Tell me if I did something crazy there. I should probably write that step out in between.
Yeah, I'm really good at doing that also. Like, I mean, I don't do it all the time, but like when I can make things shorter, I like to do them in my head, but sometimes that's a disadvantage, especially when I'm learning new things.
Oh yeah, I always say, always say, if in doubt, write it out. It rhymes, so it has to be true. I often do it on these when I'm kind of writing along with what you guys are doing. I sometimes try to skip things just to kind of give you guys a sketch So if there's something that's not working, you guys have to kind of ask, like, okay, what happened here? What happened there? But if it worked, you can go, okay, I can follow it. But yeah, doing too many of those things in your head, you're just asking for trouble. You all happy with that?
Yeah, I just wanted to finish mine before I looked up at yours because then I'll
Good.
like I'll cheat. Not cheat, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
I got to finish my process before I look at the answer.
How about you, Ava? You're being quiet today. Doing good?
Keep having these gnarly back spasms. They hurt.
Back pain is a pain. I know that.
How many people are in this class?
20?
Wow.
That's
6.
why we see 5
I
or
was going to
6.
say there's only like 6 or 7 that show up every day.
I got about 32 in stats, and I see 6.
Yeah, this term has kind of been crazy. I mean, that's a lot less than you would just have missing on a normal term, correct?
Oh yeah.
Does anybody else? Oh, go ahead.
Right.
Does anybody else have a hard time self-motivating sometimes at home? Like,
Oh, it's tough.
I feel like all I do is sleep.
it's like some days it's like I know I have work that needs to get done, but there's so many other things I could be doing around the house.
I have that too because I have a ranch. So there's always work to be done. But no, I feel like all I do is school. And then I wait until I do enough math or whatever when my brain is dead. And then I'm like, okay, what mindless schoolwork can I do now where I don't have to think about it?
That's like the opposite for me.
Unfortunately, none of my schoolwork is mindless. I'm taking a programming class, and I'm taking an EET embedded digital fundamentals class, and I'm also taking this class. And so none of that is like, that's all like every time I go to try to work on it, I have to like focus on it and do it for a good amount of time to even get anything done.
Yeah. That's
Valid,
why
yeah.
it's good to have at least one of those history classes or liberal arts classes in there. So
I'm in the same boat Justin's in.
don't tell the liberal arts teachers I said that.
Well, that's what I thought too. So I'm taking the history of art, right? That should be easy.
Oh.
My history of art teacher thinks he's an English comp. And I mean, he is so critical on the essays I have to turn in every week. And I'm like, this is the history of art. Why are you worrying about my English right now? So I feel like I'm taking an English class too. So there went my whole, theory on taking an easy class.
Yeah.
I tend to put myself in pain in class. Like I'm taking writing 122. And we had to pick a subject for mental health for our APA paper.
Yeah.
And I'm a veteran, so of course I picked PTSD and veterans. And then now like the scope of the paper has gone so beyond what I originally planned because there's so much information. I'm like, Oh my God, why did I do this to myself?
Yep. I'm doing mass incarceration. Yeah, another one. Whew. It gets so deep.
Narrow those down, folks.
Yeah, it gets so deep to like racism, classism, gender, masculinity. And I'm just like, okay, there could have been an easier topic.
Well, it's like last term in writing 121, I did why the U.S. should instate mandatory service. I made a lot of people mad with that paper.
Nice.
Especially my teacher, because she's super liberal, so she was like not for my paper at all. And then like when I brought in statistics like less than 9% of our entire current incarcerated population is veterans, she was like, that's just not true. And I'm like, yeah, that's from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, so that's definitely true.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So speaking of math, just to make sure, it sounds like you guys are fairly comfortable with what you know for the exam. Sounds like you guys will kind of want to play with stuff before you take it, but
What trick questions are on there?
it's really hard to put trick questions on My Open Math.
Yeah, but I know that you're pretty clever there.
Yeah, but my open math doesn't. It's harder to do that. So it
Okay, so
really,
what kind of trick questions are there?
I don't think there are any.
So you're telling me that all of the questions on this test are very straightforward and nice and easy and
Pretty
pretty.
much.
And there's nothing that's going to be like, wait a second.
No.
Okay.
I feel like he's not making eye contact with the screen for a reason.
I'm looking at what I have on the views, and you guys are just paranoid.
Likely excuse.
All right, so go take your tests. You guys tell me what was the trick question on it. That'll be good.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Tomorrow's quiz. What's the trick question on the test?
You guys will say, "What about this one?" And I'll go, "Oh yeah, that was nasty." Okay.
How many questions are on the test?
Oh, let me get back to it and look. Why does that matter? What are you going to do differently?
Stress about it until I take it.
Who's that helping?
Well, I'm gonna stress anyways, but then at least I know how many I have to stress on.
All right, I'll go look. There we go. Let's see. There
That's like
are 24. There are 10, Crystal. There are 10.
Okay, I can do a
Like-
10.
All right.
That's like asking that question is like getting a wish from a genie and then asking when you're gonna die. Like, why do you want to know that?
10. Okay.
Let's see. The one thing I'd probably we didn't talk too much about the rational inequalities.
Hmm.
We just said, just look at the graph. Where's the graph below? You know, like if you had graphed, if this was an inequality instead, if this had said, say, less than 42, we'd have still had to have done this part of it so we could find those intercepts, right?
Hmm.
And gone, where's it less than 42? Okay, it's less than 42 for x's in between there. So the solution would be from -2 to 3. So, you know, we talked about doing those, but not a lot, because really those are just, you know, if we know where the intercepts are, we know the direction and behavior of the graph. We know where the
Still have to
that
pull
interval
the,
has to be.
we still have to pull the 32 or the 42 on the other side, or we're leaving it there.
Yeah. Because that way we have to look, we were looking, if we set it equal or set it to 0, less than 0, then we can look at where is it above or below the axis. If we left the 42 there, we could do that. We would just have to figure out, okay, where does it equal 42? And then look below, where is it below that line at 42? It would frankly be the same points. It's just easier to see above and below 0. So we said equal to 0. So yeah, the process would be exactly the same. We wouldn't do a single thing different other than the way we state our answer.
Which our answer would just basically be anything in between the graph, correct?
Yep.
Only the X points though.
Yes.
That's I screw that up more often than I get it right. I forget that we're only dealing with the X axis sometimes. So I forget that I'm so used to like a Y coordinate and an X coordinate whenever I put them in parentheses.
Yeah, getting used to that ordered pair being interval notation as opposed to a point is weird.
Yeah.
It's almost an unfortunate thing that both notations look the same.
Yeah, it would be nice if there's a way to denote which one was which.
Other than context.
Yeah.
Other than, you know, one of the easiest ways is X, an element of that interval.
I feel like that's important in higher math.
X where X is in, you know, good old set builder notation.
Yeah, that looks confusing. I'll just write -2, 3.
I
Stick
wish
to
there
the
was a
simple
way
stuff.
to denote it. There is one like this. No, no. No. Give a guy what he wants. I mean, come on.
I mean, the little XE one, that one's easy, but this one down here is, well, it's
That
a
building
lot.
notation takes a little bit of getting used to, but you'll need to get used to it.
What, for calculus?
Life.
Oh,
Really.
for life.
Wait, we don't use math in life, do we?
I had a student once who was a 65 student say, 99% of the time I don't use math. It's like, was that the 1%?
Yeah.
You gave a math analogy on how you never use math. Students, I tell you.
You know, one of the nice things about SolidWorks is it does most of the math for me.
It does most of the arithmetic for you.
Yeah. Well, okay, fine.
It doesn't do any of the math.
Yes. It does the solving. I just put the numbers in.
Yeah.
I just have to measure stuff.
Measure theories. Yeah. So go take your test.
All right. Have a good day.
Or, take it later if you want. But
I'll take it when my babysitter gets here. That
guys
way
are
I
gonna
can
do
take it in
fine.
solitude.
that's good. You'll do fine. You'll do fine.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
You're welcome. What about you, Ava? You good? Oh, you're gone. All right.